The champagne flute trembles in my hand as I watch my cousin Sarah accept congratulations from our entire extended family. Her engagement ring catches the light from the crystal chandelier, sparkling like the tears I'm fighting back. The country club reception hall buzzes with laughter and animated conversations, but I feel like I'm watching it all through thick glass. My name is Emma, and 3 hours ago, I thought I was attending my cousin's engagement party as a proud family member. Now I'm standing in the corner, clutching evidence that could destroy everything these people think they know about their golden girl. You see, while everyone else sees Sarah as the perfect daughter, the successful lawyer, the woman who landed the catch of the century with her fiancé Marcus, I know something they don't. Something that would make every congratulation in this room feel like a lie. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this story really begins. Because what happened tonight wasn't just about family drama or petty jealousy. This was about truth, lies, and the moment I realized that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones capable of the deepest betrayal. It started 6 months ago when Sarah announced her engagement to Marcus Wellington. Yes, that Marcus Wellington, heir to the Wellington Hotel empire. The kind of man who makes mothers swoon and fathers calculate their daughters' futures in dollar signs. Our family practically threw a parade when Sarah brought him home for the first time. I remember sitting at Sunday dinner, watching my Aunt Patricia beam as she described the wedding plans. The venue would be the Wellington family estate in the Hamptons. The guest list would include senators, celebrities, and CEOs. Sarah had won the lottery, according to everyone at that table. Everyone except me. You see, I knew Marcus before Sarah did. We'd worked together at the same law firm 2 years ago, before he moved to his family's business. We weren't romantic, but we were close friends. Close enough that I knew about his struggles with his controlling father, his dreams of starting a nonprofit instead of running hotels, and most importantly, his relationship status. Marcus had been in a committed relationship with someone named Alex for 3 years. He'd shown me photos, talked about moving in together, even mentioned looking at engagement rings. The Marcus I knew was head over heels in love, just not with my cousin. So when Sarah waltzed into that Sunday dinner with Marcus on her arm, calling him the love of her life, something felt wrong. Terribly, devastatingly wrong. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe Marcus and Alex had broken up. Maybe I'd misunderstood their relationship. Maybe I was remembering things incorrectly. After all, it had been 2 years since we'd worked together, and people's lives change. But the doubts gnawed at me like a persistent headache. Every family gathering became an exercise in watching Sarah and Marcus together, searching for signs of genuine affection. What I saw instead were 2 people playing roles. Marcus seemed distracted, almost mechanical in his responses to Sarah's affection. Sarah, meanwhile, performed her happiness with the precision of a Broadway actress. The turning point came 3 weeks ago at Sarah's bridal shower. I was helping clear dishes when I overheard Sarah on the phone in the kitchen, speaking in hushed tones to someone she called her contact at the Wellington Foundation. The conversation was brief but illuminating. Sarah was discussing Marcus's trust fund access, made the timeline for his inheritance, and something about ensuring certain information stayed private until after the wedding. She used phrases like financial security and long-term planning, but never once mentioned love, happiness, or building a life together. When she noticed me standing there, Sarah's expression shifted so quickly, I almost convinced myself I'd imagined the entire conversation. She laughed, claimed she was talking to a wedding planner about financial arrangements, and changed the subject to centerpiece options. But I couldn't shake what I'd heard. The clinical way she discussed Marcus, like he was a business acquisition rather than her future husband, made my stomach turn. That night, I made a decision that would change everything between us. I decided to investigate. I started small, casual questions about how they'd met, when they'd started dating, what their first date was like. Sarah's answers were always vague, peppered with generic romantic cliches that could have described any relationship. She claimed they'd met at a charity gala, but when I mentioned that Marcus had told me he hated those events, she quickly corrected herself, saying it was actually a coffee shop near his office. The inconsistencies piled up like autumn leaves. Sarah said Marcus loved Italian food, but I remembered him being allergic to tomatoes. She claimed he was a morning person who loved sunrise runs, but the Marcus I knew was notorious for sleeping until noon on weekends. Small details, perhaps, but they painted a picture of someone who didn't actually know their fiancé very well. My breakthrough came through social media, that modern detective's best friend. While scrolling through Marcus's Instagram late one night, I noticed something odd about the timing of his posts. For 3 years, his photos had consistently featured the same person, Alex, a kind-faced man with warm brown eyes and an infectious smile. They appeared together at restaurants, on vacation, at family gatherings with Marcus's relatives. Then, abruptly, 6 months ago, Alex disappeared from Marcus's feed entirely. Not gradually, as relationships sometimes fade from social media, but completely. One day, they were posting anniversary photos with captions about forever, and the next day, Alex was gone as if he'd never existed. But here's what made my blood run cold. The last photo of Marcus and Alex together was dated exactly 1 week before Sarah announced her engagement. I dug deeper, cross-referencing dates and events. Sarah claimed she and Marcus had been dating for 8 months, with a whirlwind romance that led to a quick engagement. But according to the digital evidence, Marcus had been in a relationship with Alex right up until the moment he appeared with Sarah. Either Marcus was the world's most efficient heartbreaker, capable of falling out of love and into it again within days, or something else was happening here. Something that made my cousin's perfect fairy tale engagement look more like a carefully orchestrated business transaction. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to form a picture I didn't want to see. Sarah, who'd struggled with student loans and entry-level salary at her law firm. Marcus, whose trust fund would activate upon marriage according to his family's traditions. Alex, who'd mysteriously vanished from Marcus's life just as my cousin appeared. I knew I needed proof, something concrete that would either confirm my suspicions or put them to rest once and for all. That's when I remembered Marcus mentioning his favorite coffee shop during our law firm days, a small place called Grind Coffee near his apartment. He'd said he went there every morning without fail, claimed the baristas knew his order by heart. Last Tuesday, I took a personal day and positioned myself at that coffee shop at 7 in the morning. I felt ridiculous, like a private investigator in a bad movie, but I had to know the truth. Marcus walked in at 7:15, just as predictable as he'd always been. But he wasn't alone. Alex was with him, and they weren't behaving like exes who'd remained friends. They were holding hands, sharing quiet conversations, looking at each other with the kind of easy intimacy that takes years to develop. I watched through the window as Marcus kissed Alex goodbye, a tender, lingering kiss that spoke of deep affection and familiarity. This wasn't the goodbye of former lovers maintaining a friendship. This was the goodbye of two people very much in love, very much together, and very much hiding it from the world. My hands shook as I took photos through the coffee shop window, not because I enjoyed invading their privacy, but because I finally understood what I was looking at. Marcus was living a double life, and somehow my cousin Sarah was either complicit in it or completely oblivious to it. The evidence was damning, but I still needed to understand Sarah's role in this deception. Was she an innocent victim being used for Marcus's financial gain? Or was she a willing participant in an elaborate fraud designed to unlock his trust fund while allowing him to maintain his real relationship in secret? My answer came tonight, at this very reception, in the most unexpected way possible. I arrived at the engagement party with a plan. Tucked in my purse were printed copies of the photos I'd taken at the coffee shop, along with screenshots of Marcus and Alex's social media history. I wasn't sure what I intended to do with them, but I knew I couldn't sit through another evening of watching my family celebrate what I now believed was an elaborate lie. The country club was decorated like something out of a magazine. White roses and gold accents everywhere, string quartet playing in the corner, servers gliding between guests with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Sarah looked radiant in her cream-colored dress, accepting congratulations with the grace of someone born for these moments. For the first hour, I tried to act normal. I made small talk with relatives I hadn't seen in months, complimented the decorations, and even managed to hug Sarah when she made her rounds greeting everyone. But the whole time, those photos in my purse felt like they were burning a hole through the leather. My breaking point came when my Uncle Robert stood up to make a toast. The entire room fell silent as he raised his glass, his face glowing with paternal pride. "To my daughter Sarah," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "you've always been our shining star. But tonight you've outdone yourself. Marcus, welcome to our family. We couldn't be happier that Sarah found someone who loves her as much as we do." The room erupted in applause and cheers. I watched Marcus's face during the toast, searching for any crack in his performance. What I saw was a man who looked like he was attending his own funeral. His smile was painted on, his eyes distant, and when Sarah reached for his hand during the applause, I noticed how he tensed before allowing the contact. That's when I knew Sarah had to be aware of the truth. No one could be that oblivious to their fiancé's discomfort. She was either the world's most unobservant person, or she was actively participating in this charade. After the toast, I found myself standing near the bar when I overheard a conversation that changed everything. Sarah was talking to her maid of honor, Jessica, in hushed tones near the ladies' room entrance. I positioned myself behind a large floral arrangement where I could hear without being seen. "Are you sure about this?" Jessica was asking, her voice filled with concern. "I mean, I know the financial benefits are incredible, but living a lie for the rest of your life?" Sarah's laugh was cold, calculating. "It's not forever, Jess. The trust fund vests fully after 2 years of marriage. Marcus gets his money, I get my security, and everyone's happy. But what about love? What about actually building a life with someone?" "Love is a luxury I can't afford," Sarah replied sharply. "Do you know how much debt I'm in? How many years it would take me to pay off my student loans on an associate's salary? This arrangement solves both our problems. Marcus keeps his family happy and gets access to his inheritance, and I get financial freedom. And Alex? Alex will still be there. Marcus made that clear from the beginning. I'm not asking him to give up his real relationship just to make it discreet. After 2 years, we can have an amicable divorce, split the assets, and everyone moves on with their lives." Jessica sounded skeptical. "Your family is going to be devastated when you divorce. My family will be proud that I was married to a Wellington, even if it doesn't last. The connections alone will be worth more than any amount of family disappointment." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Not only was Sarah knowingly entering a fake marriage, she was doing it with the cold calculation of a business merger. She was using Marcus, using his family's name and money, and she was prepared to let our entire family believe in a love story that was nothing more than a financial arrangement. But what made it worse was how she was using us, too. Our family's genuine happiness and excitement were just props in her elaborate performance. Every congratulation, every gift, every heartfelt wish for her future was based on a lie she was actively perpetrating. I stood there behind those flowers, clutching my purse with the photos inside, and realized I had a choice to make. I could stay quiet, let Sarah go through with her plan, and watch our family celebrate a wedding that was nothing more than a business transaction. Or I could speak up and shatter the illusion, but risk being seen as the jealous cousin who couldn't stand to see Sarah happy. The decision was made for me when Sarah spotted me near the floral arrangement. Our eyes met across the room, and I saw something flicker in her expression. Recognition, perhaps, Or maybe just suspicion. She said something to Jessica and started walking toward me. "Emma," she said, her voice honey-sweet but her eyes sharp. "You've been so quiet tonight. Are you feeling all right?" I forced a smile. "Just taking it all in. Such a beautiful party, Sarah. You and Marcus seem so happy together." "We are," she said, but there was a warning in her tone. "Happier than I ever imagined possible." "That's wonderful," I replied, my hand instinctively moving to my purse. True love is so rare these days. Sarah's smile became more strained. "Yes, it is. Though I imagine some people have trouble recognizing it when they see it." The challenge in her words was unmistakable. Somehow, she knew that I knew. Maybe she'd seen me at the coffee shop, or maybe she'd noticed my questions at family gatherings. Either way, we were no longer pretending to have a normal conversation. "Sometimes people see exactly what they need to see," I said carefully. "And sometimes," Sarah replied, stepping closer, "people see things that aren't really there. Or they misinterpret situations they don't fully understand." I felt the weight of the photos in my purse, the evidence that would prove I wasn't misinterpreting anything. But before I could respond, Marcus appeared at Sarah's side, looking even more uncomfortable than he had during the toast. "Ladies," he said, his voice strained. "Beautiful party, Sarah. Your family certainly knows how to celebrate." I studied his face, looking for any sign of the man I'd once considered a friend. "Marcus, it's so good to see you again. It's been, 2 years since we worked together?" His eyes widened slightly. He clearly hadn't expected Sarah's family to include anyone from his past. "Emma." "Yes. How are you? I didn't realize you were Sarah's cousin." "Small world," I said, watching both of their reactions carefully. "I was just telling Sarah how wonderful it is to see two people so genuinely in love. It reminds me of what you used to tell me about wanting to find that special someone." Marcus's face went pale. Sarah's grip on his arm tightened visibly. "People change," Sarah said quickly. "What matters is who we are now, not who we used to be." "Of course," I agreed, "though some things never change. Like wanting to be authentic, to live your truth." "I remember you being so passionate about that, Marcus." The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor, while Sarah's expression had shifted from warning to outright hostility. "Emma," Sarah said, her voice dropping to a whisper, "I think we should have a private conversation." Before I could respond, the sound of someone tapping a champagne glass drew everyone's attention to the front of the room. Marcus's father, the imposing Wellington patriarch, stood ready to make his own toast. "If I may have everyone's attention," he boomed, his voice carrying the authority of old money and older traditions. "I'd like to say a few words about my future daughter-in-law and the wonderful addition she'll be to our family." D. The front of the room, Sarah. As all heads turned, Tor leaned close to me, her breath hot against my ear. "Whatever you think you know," she hissed. "Whatever you think you've figured out, you need to keep your mouth shut. You have no idea what you're messing with." But I did know. I knew exactly what I was messing with, and for the first time all evening, I felt a sense of clarity about what I needed to do. The moment of truth was coming, and I was finally ready to face it. The weight of Sarah's threat should have intimidated me, but instead, it crystallized my resolve. As Wellington Sr. began his toast about family values and the importance of authentic partnerships, I realized the cruel irony of his words. Here was a man praising a union built entirely on deception, while his son stood beside him looking like a prisoner awaiting execution. "Sarah has brought such joy to our Marcus," Wellington continued, raising his crystal glass higher. "In all my years, I've never seen my son more committed to building a future with someone." I watched Marcus's jaw clench at the word committed. The man I'd known 2 years ago had been passionate about honesty, about living without pretense. He'd once told me that his biggest fear was becoming another hollow society figure, going through the motions of a life that meant nothing. Now, here he was, the very embodiment of that fear. The applause following Wellington's toast felt like thunder in my ears. Sarah squeezed Marcus's hand and kissed his cheek for the cameras, but I saw him flinch slightly at the contact. The performance was flawless from the outside, but knowing the truth made every gesture feel like watching a car accident in slow motion. After the toast, the party resumed its elegant rhythm. Guests mingled between the bar and the dance floor, where a jazz trio had replaced the string quartet. The lighting had been dimmed to something more romantic, casting long shadows across the marble floors. It was the perfect setting for love and celebration, which made the reality of the situation even more nauseating. I found myself gravitating toward the terrace doors, needing fresh air and space to think. The October evening was crisp, with a breeze that carried the scent of dying leaves from the club's manicured gardens. A few other guests had spilled outside, but they were clustered near the bar setup, leaving the far end of the terrace relatively private. That's where I was standing when Marcus found me. "Emma," he said quietly, approaching with the caution of someone defusing a bomb. "Can we talk?" I turned to face him, seeing clearly for the first time how much he'd changed. The Marcus I'd known had been energetic, quick to laugh, always gesturing with his hands when he spoke. This version looked exhausted, like someone carrying a weight too heavy for his shoulders. "I wasn't sure you'd remember me," I said, though we both knew that wasn't true. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit I remembered well. "Of course I remember you. You were one of the few people at that firm who treated me like a person instead of a trust fund." "And now?" The question hung in the air between us. Marcus looked back through the glass doors at the party continuing inside, at Sarah holding court near the gift table, at his father networking with potential business partners. "Now I'm exactly what I never wanted to become," he said finally. His honesty surprised me. I'd expected denials, deflection, maybe even anger. Instead, he seemed almost relieved to be talking to someone who might understand the weight of his situation. "Marcus, what happened? 2 years ago, you were talking about starting that nonprofit, about making a difference. You were with Alex, and you seemed genuinely happy." At the mention of Alex's name, something cracked in his composure. "I'm still with Alex," he said quietly. "That's the hell of it, Emma. I'm still completely in love with him, but I'm about to marry your cousin to access money that I don't even want." The confession hit me like a physical blow. Even though I'd suspected the truth, hearing him admit it made everything real in a way that photographs and overheard conversations couldn't. "Then why?" I asked. "Why go through with this?" Marcus leaned against the terrace railing, his knuckles white as he gripped the stone. "My father gave me an ultimatum 6 months ago. Either I marry a woman he approves of and take over the hotel business, or I'm cut off completely. Not just from the trust fund, but from the family." He made it clear that my relationship with Alex was an embarrassment he wouldn't tolerate any longer. "So you chose Sarah." "Sarah chose me," he corrected. "She approached me at a bar 3 days after my father's ultimatum. Said she'd heard through mutual friends about my situation and had a proposition." I felt sick. She knew about Alex from the beginning. She knew everything. About the trust fund, about my father's demands, about Alex. She laid out her plan like a business proposal. 2 years of marriage, just long enough for the money to vest and for both of us to establish the connections we needed. Then an amicable divorce. The clinical nature of their arrangement made my skin crawl. "And Alex agreed to this?" Marcus's laugh was bitter. "Alex doesn't know. He thinks I'm going through with an arranged marriage to protect him from my family's influence. He believes I'm sacrificing our relationship to keep him safe from my father's reach." "You're lying to everyone." "I'm lying to the person I love most to protect a lie I'm telling to get money. I don't want to please a family that doesn't accept who I am." He turned to look at me directly. "Tell me, Emma, how exactly does someone live with that?" Before I could answer, the terrace doors slid open and Sarah appeared, her smile bright and predatory. "There you are, darling," she said to Marcus, linking her arm through his with possessive familiarity. "People are asking where the happy couple disappeared to." Her eyes found mine over Marcus's shoulder. "Emma, I hope you're not keeping my fiancé from his own party. Just catching up, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. It's amazing how much can change in 2 years. Isn't it? Sarah agreed, her tone light but her grip on Marcus's arm tightening. People grow, evolve, make better choices. The three of us stood there in a triangle of tension, each knowing exactly what the others were thinking, but unable to speak freely. It was like being trapped in a play where everyone had forgotten their lines. We should get back inside, Marcus said finally, but he didn't move. In a moment, Sarah replied, Emma, I've been thinking about our conversation earlier, about seeing things clearly. I met her gaze steadily. What about it? Sometimes clarity can be dangerous, especially when it comes to family. She paused, letting the threat settle. I'd hate for anyone to get hurt because of misunderstandings. Misunderstandings about what? Sarah's smile never wavered. About anything that might disrupt this beautiful evening. This beautiful future we're all celebrating. The word future hit me like a revelation. This wasn't just about one fake wedding or one business arrangement. Sarah was talking about years of deception, years of our family believing in a love story that was nothing more than a financial transaction. She was talking about Marcus living a double life while Alex waited in the shadows, and about all of us being complicit in a lie that would destroy multiple lives. What if someone couldn't live with that kind of misunderstanding? I asked. Sarah's expression hardened almost imperceptibly. Then, that someone would need to consider the consequences of their actions. For everyone involved. Marcus looked between us, clearly sensing the subtext, but unable to intervene without revealing more than he was willing to admit. Ladies, he said desperately, perhaps we should... Actually, I interrupted, pulling my phone from my purse. I think it's time for some clarity. Sarah's eyes widened as she saw the device in my hand. Emma, don't do anything you'll regret. I won't regret this, I said, opening the photo gallery where Marcus and Alex's coffee shop images waited. But you might... The color drained from both of their faces as I held up the first photo. Marcus and Alex holding hands across a small table, their faces close together in intimate conversation. This was taken last Tuesday morning, I said quietly. 7:15 a.m. at Grind Coffee on 5th Street. Marcus staggered backward, as if I'd struck him. Sarah's mask of composure finally slipped completely. You followed him? She hissed. I followed my instincts, I replied. Something that told me this whole engagement was wrong. Emma, please, Marcus said, his voice breaking. You don't understand the full situation. I understand enough, I said, swiping to the next photo. This one showed Marcus kissing Alex goodbye on the sidewalk outside the coffee shop. I understand that you're living a lie that's going to destroy everyone who believes in it. Sarah stepped closer, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. If you show those photos to anyone, you'll ruin more than just our arrangement. You'll destroy Marcus's relationship with his family forever. His relationship with his family is already destroyed, I shot back. They don't even know who he really is. And whose choice was that? Sarah demanded. He could have stood up to his father months ago. Instead, he chose this path. You mean you convinced him this was his only option? I gave him a solution that worked for everyone. Everyone except Alex, who doesn't know his boyfriend is getting married. Everyone except our family, who's celebrating a lie. Everyone except Marcus, who looks like he's dying inside. The three of us stood in silence as the weight of the situation settled around us like fog. Through the glass doors, I could see the party continuing in blissful ignorance. My Aunt Patricia was showing off engagement photos to a cluster of relatives. Uncle Robert was deep in conversation with Wellington Sr. about business opportunities. Cousins and friends danced to the jazz trio's rendition of classic love songs. All of it built on a foundation of deception that was about to crumble. What do you want? Sarah asked finally. The question caught me off guard. What did I want? To expose the truth? To protect my family from being used? To save Marcus from a life of misery? To prevent Alex from being betrayed by the person he loved most? All of those things. But something else, too. I wanted authenticity in a world that seemed increasingly comfortable with beautiful lies. I wanted people to value truth over convenience, love over financial security, integrity over social status. I want you to call off the wedding, I said. Sarah laughed, sharp and humorless. Absolutely not. Do you have any idea how much money we've already spent? How many people we've invited? The Wellington family has made arrangements that can't be undone. Then tell them the truth. The truth will destroy both of us, Marcus said quietly. My father will disown me completely. Sarah will lose her job when the partnership finds out about the arrangement. And if you go through with it, we survive, Sarah said simply. We both get what we need, and everyone else gets to keep believing in their fairy tale. I looked at both of them. These two people who'd constructed an elaborate prison for themselves and were determined to lock themselves inside it. The saddest part was that they genuinely believed this was their best option. What about Alex? I asked Marcus. His face crumpled. Alex will never forgive me when he finds out, but at least he'll be safe from my family's influence. He'll be safe and heartbroken and betrayed by the person he trusted most. Better heartbroken than destroyed by association with the Wellington name. I stared at him in disbelief. You really think you're protecting him by lying to him? I think I'm protecting him the only way I know how. The conversation was interrupted by the sound of the terrace doors sliding open again. This time, it was Jessica, Sarah's maid of honor, looking around nervously. Sarah, your dad is looking for you. He wants to do the family photos before people start leaving. Sarah straightened her dress and checked her reflection in the glass doors. We'll be right there. As Jessica disappeared back inside, Sarah turned to me with renewed determination. Emma, I'm going to ask you one more time. Please don't do anything that will hurt the people we both care about. The people you care about, I repeated. You mean the family you're lying to, or the fiancé you're using? I mean the people who will be collateral damage if you decide to play hero tonight. She was right. And that's what made this so impossibly difficult. Exposing the truth would hurt innocent people. My aunt and uncle would be humiliated. The extended family would feel foolish for their enthusiastic support. The Wellington family would be scandalized. Even Alex, who deserved to know the truth, would be devastated by it. But staying silent felt like being complicit in something fundamentally wrong. Think about it, Sarah continued, sensing my hesitation. Really think about what happens after you show those photos. Marcus gets disowned and loses everything. I get fired and probably blacklisted from every law firm in the city. Your aunt and uncle become the laughingstock of their social circle. The Wellington family's reputation suffers. And for what? To satisfy your need to be right? Her words hit their mark because they contained enough truth to sting. Was I really doing this to protect people, or was I doing it because I couldn't stand watching a lie succeed? I need time to think, I said finally. Sarah's relief was visible. Take all the time you need. Just remember that some secrets are kept to protect the people we love. As they walked back toward the party, Marcus paused at the doorway. Emma, he said, without turning around. I know you think I'm a coward. Maybe you're right. But sometimes being a coward is the only way to protect the people who matter most. Then they were gone, leaving me alone on the terrace with my phone full of evidence and a decision that would change multiple lives forever. Inside, the party reached its crescendo as the family photos began. I could see everyone gathering around Sarah and Marcus, arranging themselves in the traditional poses that would commemorate this moment for generations. My Aunt Patricia dabbed at happy tears, while Uncle Robert beamed with paternal pride. Cousins jockeyed for position near the happy couple, everyone wanting to be part of the perfect picture. The photographer's flash illuminated their faces in frozen moments of joy, capturing smiles that would outlast the truth they were built on. These photos would sit on mantelpieces and fill albums, physical proof of a love story that existed only in the imagination of everyone except the two people at its center. I watched through the glass, my finger hovering over the photos on my phone, knowing that I held the power to shatter every smile in that room. The question was whether shattering those smiles would save anyone or simply spread the pain wider? The weight of that choice pressed down on me as the party continued around us, beautiful and doomed and completely unaware of the storm that was about to break. As I stood there on that terrace, watching my family pose for photos that would commemorate a lie, I realized something profound about truth and consequences. The easy choice would have been to stay silent, to let Sarah and Marcus play out their elaborate deception while everyone else lived in blissful ignorance. But sometimes protecting people from the truth isn't protection at all. It's just postponing a much more devastating reckoning. I made my choice that night, and while it wasn't easy, and while it hurt people I cared about, it was right. Because authenticity matters more than comfort, and love deserves better than being used as a prop in someone else's financial arrangement. The truth has a way of surfacing eventually, and when it does, the longer it's been buried, the more damage it causes. If you've ever found yourself in a situation where speaking up felt impossible, but staying silent felt wrong, remember that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about doing what's right even when your hands are shaking. Sometimes the people closest to us are capable of the deepest betrayals, but that doesn't mean we have to become complicit in their lies. What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments below.